Okay, folks, welcome to the show. Welcome to the Gonstead Unfiltered podcast, and I want to wish you a very happy new year. Welcome to 2024. This is going to be the first one. We're going to start it off right by setting your mind right. All right, so hopefully 2024 is better than 2023 for a lot of you folks. But let's get into this. Before we actually do a deep dive, I want to share a story with you guys. You know, I like to tell stories. And I was at the grocery store and I was getting ready to check out. There was a lady that comes up to me and she says, "Aren't you Dr. Tony?" I said, "Yeah." And she starts telling me about her situation. "Oh, I've had this pain for years, and it started off in my lower back, now it's in my mid back, now I'm dealing with these neck and shoulder problems. It's shooting into my legs, my feet are going numb." Now, this is also a lady who is overweight. She wasn't very healthy. And she's telling me all of these things that are going on in her life. And I said, "Well, you're more than welcome to come into the office. I'm sure we can help, and we'll take a look at everything and see what we can do." Well, and then, it was almost like she was prepared to tell me whatever it was in her mind next without listening to what I was actually trying to tell her. And so I said that, and then she says, "Well, I tried this and I tried this and I tried these different therapies and none of that stuff worked. And then, this one chiro tried to do this and I just couldn't afford it. And then my husband, he said that he thinks it wasn't going to help me. And then in my mind, I'm thinking that I'm never going to get better." And I said, hold on, stop. Like, where's all this coming from?" And you could tell, like, when people get to this point, they're looking for help. You have to understand that she is not the individual that she wants to be, okay? And so when you hear about this, I said, "Time out a second." I said, "I can't help you." And immediately, when you're in the store, again, and you identify somebody and they say something like that, it almost catches them off guard. And the reason why I said that, and she goes, "Well, what do you mean?" And I was like, "Well, listen to what you're saying to yourself." I was like, no one's going to be able to help you until you help yourself. And it kind of caught her off guard. And at this point, you could sense that she was a little bit offended by that. But here's the thing. A lot of times people don't have people in their lives to tell them the truth. And when they do hear the truth and it kind of stings a little bit, they can get offended. And so I said, I don't mean to be disrespectful or anything like that, but I was like, listen to the story that you're telling yourself. So she actually ended up making an appointment and she came in. But the thing behind this, the whole story behind this is, what are you telling yourself? Okay, you see this all the time. And I really want to get this point across because it's what you're telling yourself that is determining what your environment and what your future is going to be. So for instance, the story that you tell yourself, that leads to what you believe in. That determines your belief system. And then your belief system is going to determine your identity. And then this is who you are as a person. This is how you operate. These are the actions that you perform throughout your day. This is your identity. So when people look at you and they see your identity, they see who you are, they see your actions, they see your words, now all of a sudden they start to make these judgment calls as to who you are and whether or not they want to associate with you. And not only that, but once you determine your identity, now you go out into the world and you start looking for evidence to justify your point. So it's the story that you're telling yourself, which leads to your belief system, which leads to your identity, which then makes you go out and seek the evidence to justify your positions in this world. You see this in everything. You see this in everything. And why is it that the majority of the time, it's all negative? It's all negative. Of course you're not going to get better. Listen to how you sound. You're already telling yourself you can't afford it. You're already telling yourself that you tried it and it didn't work. You're already telling yourself, "Oh, my husband's going to disagree." You're already telling yourself that you don't think that you're going to get better. So how are you going to get better if that's the story that you're telling yourself and that's what you believe? So then your identity is now like Eeyore. "Nobody loves me. I'm never going to get better. I can't afford this." And before you know it, year after year goes by and you just keep getting worse. And guess what happens with that? You just end up taking pills, and before you know it, you're on the drugs, you're on the surgeries, and life is shit. This is the world today. We have to change our story. What is the story that you're telling yourself? Instead of saying that you can't afford it, instead of saying that you don't think you're going to get better, instead of saying that the people around you are not going to support you, or instead of saying that you tried something and it didn't work, how about you say, you know what? I know I'm going to get better. I'm going to do this. I'm going to commit to it. I deserve this. It's a great opportunity. I'm going to get better. I'm going to turn my life around. I'm going to make the change that I want to change so I can get that piece of my life back that I deserve. And this is very difficult because we're all guilty of this. We're all guilty of this. Now, where do we see this kind of behavior? Think about this now. You see this in politics, folks. Like I already have it. It's the beginning of January, and I've already heard patients talking about, Trump and Biden and all this other shit. And the thing is, it's like if you're going to fill your world, we got, 11 months until an election, and you're going to fill your world right now with that shit. That's the story you're telling yourself that's leading to what you believe in, and that's who you are, that you're creating an identity that's crazy. It doesn't matter what side you're on. They can find a cure for cancer. And somehow the other side, it doesn't matter if it's a cure for cancer, somehow the other side will find ways to shit on it. They're going to find ways to do whatever. And this goes both ways, folks. I don't want to hear this garbage of whatever. But that's the bottom line. You see this a ton with politics, and it's all in an indoctrination. It's the story you're telling yourself that's leading to your belief system. Now you're creating this identity of like one way or the other, and now you go looking for evidence in the world to justify your position of whether you're a Republican or a Democrat. It doesn't matter. You see this a ton in politics. You see this in people who are suffering in pain. Think about this. Oh, I tried this, and I've had, 5 surgeries already. I'm just taking pills. Nobody seems to listen to me. I tried this doctor and it didn't work. I tried this over here and it didn't work. It was too much. I couldn't afford it. How about this? You know what? This guy, what he's talking about, if you're combining chiro and rehab and massage or naturopathy, or you're doing decompression, or you're doing red light therapy to regenerate tissues, or you're doing shockwave, and you're making this combination of stuff, maybe that has a different effect. You know what? That sounds like something I didn't do. I'm going to give it a shot, and I deserve to get better. Why can't we say that? But we sit in misery. Why do we sit in misery? It doesn't make any sense. Because you have this repeated pattern of people maybe letting you down. So I get that part, folks. And it's very difficult. You see this a lot in trust, too. You see this a lot as far as people not trusting others, okay? And the reason why I say that is because I am guilty of that. We have Jeff. He's a guy on our staff, a guy that I really respect, a guy that I really trust, right? And I'm going through these things, and because I have a very difficult time trusting people. I do. If your actions and your words are not congruent, I have a very difficult time trusting you. I don't want to be associated with you. And that's the world today. So, the reality is I don't associate with a lot of people, and that is why. Because if actions and words don't match up, I don't want to be around you because I don't want that shit rubbing off on me. But one day, we're having this conversation, and he says, he goes, it seems like you're kind of like looking for reasons why not to trust whoever. It seems like you're looking for a way to not trust them, and instead of seeing the good side. Like the reason why he's like such a good friend, or that I trust him so much, is because he sees the positive in people. I don't know why. Maybe it's the way I grew up. I don't know. But for me, like it's if your actions and words aren't there, I won't trust you. But for him, it's like the yin and the yang, right? He sees the good, he has the trust, so it's good to associate with him because he sees things that I don't see, which really helps me kind of work through some things. But he said this, and because I respect him and because I trust him, when he says, you know what, you look like you're kind of reaching a little bit and like looking for evidence to justify your position, I was like, damn, here I am talking to you guys, and I'm just as much to blame for this. So it's very easy to get caught up in a lot of these different things because of the stories that you're telling people. We see this a lot with people in pain because that's what they're coming in and they've been let down so many times. And, the first part of helping that person is getting them to overcome the story that they're telling themselves. So just like what Jeff did to me and helped me see that, and I was like, you know what? You're right. You're right. That's what you have to have in your life to change your ways and to change that story so you can change how you believe things, so you can change how you act in who you are as a person, so you can go looking for evidence that you do deserve something, that it is justified that you have this opportunity, that you do deserve more money, that you do deserve more success. When you start searching the world for evidence for that, now all of a sudden it makes a huge difference. I can't tell you enough, folks. Like at first, trust me, if you try this and you're disciplined enough to do this and you're consistent every single day to tell yourself, I do deserve this money. I do deserve a better marriage. I do deserve a better health. I do deserve this better relationship. I do deserve better at work. And you start looking for evidence to start looking for that kind of stuff, all of a sudden your life changes. And at first, trust me, I get it. Sounds cheesy. It sounds cliche. But your subconscious mind is picking up everything that you're saying to yourself. You got to be very careful with what you say to yourself. You got to be very careful with the stories that you're telling yourself. But you see this in politics. You see this with people suffering in pain. You see this in poverty. Well, the reason why, it's like, well, it's because I'm whatever. I didn't get this job because of this. And you start pointing the finger everywhere else. Everything that happens to you, folks, is because of you. And the sooner you realize that and that nobody's coming to save you, then all of a sudden life changes. But you got to get out of this victim mindset. And that's where you see all this stuff. People who are constantly playing the victim. People who are constantly feeling like they're being disrespected. In every scenario, if you find yourself pointing the finger and saying, you know what? I felt like I was disrespected. I felt like I was disrespected. Stop that shit. That's garbage. Everything that happens to you is because of you. Change your story so you can change your belief system, so you can change your identity and how you act, and stop looking for the evidence to justify being a victim. You see this in obesity, people trying to lose weight. Well, I can't do this because I can't afford the foods. I can't afford organic. I can't do this. I can't do that. I promise you, if you have cancer right now and you're in like a stage 2 or 3 cancer and they say, hey, you need this therapy or you need this radiation or this chemo or this cancer treatment and it's going to cost you $100,000, you will find a way to make up that money. You will put yourself in debt to get rid of that cancer. So do you actually want it enough? If you're obese, do you want to lose weight enough? Have you hit your rock bottom yet to justify losing weight enough? We got to stop making those excuses. Stop telling yourself you can't. You will. Instead of saying I can't or I want, I will. There's a difference. You see this in marriage. Think about this. What is the divorce rate? Above 50%? 60%? 65%? Somewhere around there. I don't know. Shit. But now all of a sudden you hear, well, if it doesn't work out, I'll just get a divorce. That's not what marriage is about. Everybody thinks that you're going to ride off into the sunset, you're going to fall in love, ride off into the sunset, and live happily ever after. That shit doesn't work. That's not even close to what it is. Let me tell you, I've been married for 21 years now. It's nothing like that. It's nothing like that. I have a life partner that knows how to solve problems, and we're going to solve problems together for life. We have a job to raise children who are going to put a dent into this world and make this world a better place. And along the way, we're going to solve a lot of shit together. And does my wife know how to deal with drama, or does she get dramatic? What is the story? Those are things that you see, but it's easy to say, it doesn't work, I'll just get a divorce. That's the easy way out, folks. You make a commitment, you keep it. But it's the story that you're telling yourself. If you're already saying, well, if it doesn't work out, here's my option 2 and I'm ready to bail, that's the story you're telling yourself. That's what you actually believe. So you start to act that way. Oh, you want to act up? Okay, I'm out. I'm leaving. I'll cheat on you. I'll do this. I'll do that. Whatever the case is. And then you start looking for evidence in your spouse. Every little nook and cranny, you're going to nitpick everything. Have any of you guys, like in a marriage, maybe picked up these little nuances? Maybe the person is one of these and they're swallowing, they're snorting and shit like that, or maybe they're snoring in the middle of the night, and that you're finding those little pieces of evidence to justify your position, to justify, and all that does is just keep building up until one day you crack and you say, I'm out. All the time you see this. You see this with addiction. You see this with the drugs. You see this with the alcohol. You see this with the porn. You see this with all of these different addictions. Even with exercise and food. You find ways in the world to justify your position because of the stories that you're telling yourself. If you want to change something, you have to change your story. Anytime somebody wants to make an excuse and pull this excuse out of their ass to justify their position, the reality is they're not willing to change their story. And the reality is most people won't change the story until they've hit rock bottom. Once you hit rock bottom, then your story is going to change because you know there's no other way. So the reason why I share this with you guys is because 2024 just started. This is an opportunity for a better lifestyle. You have an opportunity. Everybody wants to make a New Year's resolution. You have an opportunity to change your story and be consistent with it. You have to have the discipline and you have to have the consistency every single day and hold yourself accountable to change your story. So the next time you find yourself thinking negatively, the next time you find yourself saying, I can't, or I won't, or it's not possible, or whatever the case is, immediately change your story. And you say, I can, I will, I'm determined, I deserve. This is an opportunity. When you change your mindset, you change your beliefs. When you change your beliefs, you change your identity and who you are and how you act. When you change how you act, you start looking for different things to justify your position. Folks, try this. It's 2024. Don't listen to the frickin' news. Don't listen to the people who say that you can't. That's exactly what people want you to do. They want you to think you can't do anything for your health. They want you to think that you can't have good relationships. They want you to think that you can't have an abundance of wealth. They want you to think that your job should be shit and you should always live in misery. They want you to think this, and when you think that way, you can be controlled. Determine your own future. Determine your own path, and it starts with your story, folks. So I hope you enjoyed this podcast. Welcome to 2024, folks. If you like this, please share it with your friends. If you have those negative Nancys who are in your life, share this with them and get them to start 2024 off on the right foot. If you do this, I can promise you, life will only get better. We'll see you next time, folks.